All right. Oh, let's jump into things. Where we at? 10 o'clock. A little bit earlier this morning, which is good. Gives it a chance to sort of really sort of get stuck into things before we see a lot of the sort of volume and that come through. But look, no better place to start at the moment but gold, because this is like one of the markers. I mean, actually, overnight we saw a lot of movement from, yeah, a lot of stuff in that. But gold is, you know, despite this kind of thing of obviously looking like it's just like a massive little range here. um, the last week or so, this has definitely been the place to be trading. I've been on the short side of these things. The sells come hard and fast, but equally the buyers. Well, so I just got some alerts going off because we got Aussie selling down nice and early. Good, I'm on the short side of that. Yeah, so the gold, the sell down's becoming hard and fast, but the buyers equally just keep jumping back in every single time. So I don't know. They're just a little bit crazy, I have to admit. But what we're sort of seeing here, look, again, it's like this is where we were looking. It's up, it's putting new highs, new highs, new highs. Technically made a new high last night. I threw a Hail Mary on this one here at 55, which is like, where was it? Yeah, like 55 right here. So just as it tipped that high here, stop at 60. So I gave myself a $5 range for it all, and obviously it paid off very well. It just went bang, crash right down after that. But as you can see, ooh, and they grind back up again. So got to kind of work out what's going on here because the cells are coming hard and fast. This moves back up and that, and it sort of grinds up and that. And, technically, I guess you could say it's still making new highs and that, but you can see that obviously the sellers are just crazy at this level. But doesn't mean that they can't be overrun because these buys are equally as strong. I mean, even on the larger scale, these sell downs we saw the last couple of weeks, now we are really just sort of consolidating this top zone over here. So I could almost sort of bang a little box around this. And I would say you want a 4 hour close outside this. I'm going to put on those bottom wicks just to give us a little bit of extra sort of confirmation as to sort of probably where we're going to go for the next one. I mean, if you stand back in that and go, okay, look, where's it at? It's consolidating right at the very, very highs. Not even at the highs, but like at the high of the highs and that. So, look, it does lead itself to sort of be that sort of, okay, yep, it's going to break out. And look, it could have a screamer top. We're so close to 3,000. I mean, $47 or something. It's so close to 3,000 that you would be surprised if it doesn't hit here, if not now, soon after maybe a bit of a pullback. So within the next couple of months, because as I've said a couple of times, Team 3,000 for sure. It's just a matter of whether it's going to do it now or whether we're going to see this pullback down over here. So look, this line has been danced around a little bit. I'm still sort of using it because, as you can see, it does hold some weight from back here. The top side, if the chart decides to line up, top side lines up with the bottom side to give us a bit of a channel. Top side's been just sort of thrown out kind of thing, but this bottom side, as you can see, has been respected a number of times. And yes, it's been shaking down, but this is what these sell downs are. They're like, boom, shake down, buy straight back up, boom, shake down. So, I mean, look after every single one of, not even just well, I suppose, yes, they do come in these lines here, but every time it's dipped under this trend, people are like, oh, yep, bang, let's do it. They rip it back up. Under the trend, boom, rip it back up. Under the trend, boom, rip it back up. It's always literally the next candle as well. That big, massive sell down that I just mentioned a second ago from, new technical all-time high to take out to see if just a little fishing expedition up here to see if it was going to go whoop and shoot straight up. Excuse me. Um, Obviously, no, didn't. But bang, smash right down with it all. My feeling with this is based off sort of what I used to sort of see with oil, among many reasons why I don't trade oil, it does these kind of moves where, imagine if you're trying to sort of get short on this thing. I mean, forget the people that got short here and got short here. They're all sort of technical taken out kind of thing. So we're not worried about that stuff here. We're kind of more just looking at this particular range just through here, which, 22 to 50, we're in a $30 range for the last, what's that, last week or so. 19, yeah, last week or so. Um, and you're trying to get short, bang, you stopped out. Trying to get short, bang, you stopped out. Bang. I mean, even these touches down here, like, so I did just mention these two, but as you can see, these kind of touches, whoops, here, and then, well, not so much this one, but yeah, I suppose it hit that line, and then this one down here. Each time it's come down, it's fired back up. So if you're trying to sort of get a short position to, be one of these people that's going to, I bought the top and I'm going to, short it all the way back down. Just bear me 1 sec. Every time you've tried to get on it, you've been snapped out, snapped out, snapped out. And as I said, this is what I sort of noticed with oil, particularly in that it'll try and sort of just burn you out, either financially, like, you've got short here, I put my stops above, I've taken a loss. Stops here, put it above, taking a loss. Put it up here, you stopped out, taking a loss. Pull it up here, look out, taking it. It's taxing, obviously financially. But even if you go, okay, bang, stops to even, you say you got a good short over here and you survived this one over here. Well, you're out. Like that's a thing. It's sort of like you've either sort of taken a financial loss or you've taken a mental loss because you've been in a good profit or a good good sort of financial position, and you've taken the hit on it, and time and time and time again, eventually people just go, look, you know what, this market is just doing my head in. It's not going to break. It's probably going to 3,000 now because the buyers keep stepping back in, and I'm going to go look elsewhere. I'm going to go trade something else, and maybe you look at equities, or maybe you look at current couple of currency pairs or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's beside the point. The thing is, it's that it burns people out time and time again, and then eventually, when people are either out of their positions or they're sort of financially or mentally unable to sort of wanting to continue, excuse me, that's when they just go, okay, fine, let's move it now. Bang. So that's why I'm not sort of overly sort of like, even though it is sort of consolidating, that whole ramble leads to the point of why I'm not sort of overly concerned, even though it's sort of like consolidating right up near the very, very, very highs. I still maintain that we probably do have a break of this trend and then to honor the break of the trend and see some pullback. Because it has just been an absolute monster run. Like, I'm sure people tried to short it here, thought they would sort of, oh, it's been a big run and all this kind of sort of stuff. But look, if we sort of look from that mid-December move, which is down here, chuck it on 4 hours so we can see it a little bit better. From that sort of, big last sell down, so down here, mid-December or late December, whatever, and then move all the way up here, it has just been on an absolute rip roar, moving all the way up over here. So even if it did have a cooling off, you know, 2867 is only 23%. 2813, which, I think would be a reasonable level, that would flush out a couple of the sort of like, larger stop areas. There'd be a lot of stops around these kind of big support areas through here, probably a couple through here, this little consolidation area. Come down here. This is still very bullish in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? And it's the same structure that I always say, you got to go up, you find resistance, you come back, you find support. Support will generally be a previous resistance area. It's a good place to put them. And then you get that third leg. And of course, this is the leg that I always say is the important one, because this is the one that's going to tell us, are we getting a lower high, in which case we could be coming back even further? Are we going to get a double top or potential sort of range, which could lead to sort of, double tops obviously can be exactly that, tops. Ranges could give us quite a chunky sort of 130 buck or so range to trade. Or are we going to get high, and that'll be the time that we get to 3,000 plus? You know what I mean? So I think sort of in the whole scheme of things, structurally, it wouldn't hurt it to have a little bit of a pullback there anyway. So, I mean, I'm not overly sort of fussed with it at the moment. I think the buys are just incredibly strong, but the sells are also equally up there as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a tussle. And this is why I think this little range will give us a bit of an indicator in that it's butting its head up along here, but obviously knock back down, see where this one goes. Okay, so I think if, look, early indicators, let's put one down under here. If we sort of take out early indicator at 41, which I mean is only $9. You say it's only $9. $9 is a great move. um, Again, this is the let's, I don't know, edit this one here, rising support. So this little area where it last bounced from, the chuck back on the 1 hour so we can see a bit better. You see almost like a little bit of a confluence and a good reason for why this sort of would have bounced from around this area, because we do have these previous highs through here as a horizontal. You can see it sort of, resistance, resistance, danced around its resistance, support, closed up into a support, resistance, whatever. You can see this horizontal holds some sort of significance around this sort of 35 area. You've got this falling resistance, which is broken through support, support, bounce up here as well. You've got the main trend that I've just been going on and on about that. So you've got three things to say, hey, let's have a bounce from here. So it's no wonder that it got a little bit of a kick up. It's just a matter of sort of, is this just a little short squeeze again? Because, people got short here. Nah, they're out. Okay, bang. And now are we going to see the move? So I think certainly that's the first one, 41, to take out that 4 hour candle. I think sort of really sort of like, down under 33. I would say probably under 30, just to be a little bit more on the sort of cautious side, taking out lower wicks. And these are going to be sort of things that we can use as sort of like little sort of confirmations of these things breaking, because you got to think, if you're coming down here and you hit this 30 now, that's a significant break of this rising trend, which I've gone on and on about this morning, of course, to sort of say, hey, look, this could be actually it. And then, of course, down underneath here, these 20s, targeting, first target would be just under 28.95, so I'm putting my first target under here. So a lot of alerts. If this thing does start to break down, that's a downside thing. Look, again, look, it's right. We're talking $2-3 within the within the all-time highs here. So it's a bit hard to sort of say that there isn't a possibility of it going higher. But to me, it seems like a mental game, financial game, where they're just taking people out, boring them out, like boredom. I suppose boring out their accounts, boarding them out, and then eventually you might see our move. If this were to be a range, just for the sake of this, actually, let's turn this into a zone. That's what that should be. Let's get rid of this one here. If this were to be a range, I'm not a big fan of calling this a range. I suppose you got a bit of support through here, and yeah, look, I'll probably sort of just do this to see how this has significance, where we kind of come up to. But again, look, it takes you under 29. So I think, look, honestly, I do believe we're going under 29. I think that once this trend breaks, I think we're going to see a bit of a deeper sort of pullback. But I'd be looking almost, sort of like mid to low 28s, I think is a probably acceptable sort of level. Which, it's $100 down, and it seems crazy to go $100. But remember, we are so elevated here that even $100 drop off, which is insane to sort of say, that's a big move. That's 76, 70, 80, 90. $100 takes you, down to, oh, geez, it shows I didn't sleep much last night. Well, what's $100 minus 29.50? Oh no, that's right. I was looking at the percentage. 3%. Definitely needed a bit more sleep last night. 3% down. Massive. Look, in gold terms, that's a big move, but it's not unheard of. You know what I mean? And I'm not sort of saying like a stone bang here, but dribble, 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 dribble. And, it takes us back to an area where we're seeing some support there as well. So look, I think, this could continue. We could come down here, bounce back up, down here, bounce back up. So this is why this main one down here under 29.19, I think is the one that we're going to call as the sort of significant level to beat. for the downside. That takes you clearly out of through this rising support. I'm not a look. I think this part's kind of played its part. I don't think we'll get any reaction from this one here. I think it's played its part to be resistance, 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 support. I don't imagine you to get there. Maybe depending when it comes down, you'd have that sort of thing there. But I wouldn't put too much weight on this one through here, this blue line. More these horizontals and this rising support through there. While we're at it, pop this up here. As I said, I'm not looking up though. I'm looking more downside. All right, let's roll on. So we got Aussie, definitely coming back very nice, coming almost into our little buy zone. So I can't remember. It must have been the weekend one, and I was like, oh look, we can put a buy zone. I thought we'd sort of get up a little push here, and then this move back down here, and obviously it screamed up a little bit higher yesterday, sort of on that US dollar or DXY sort of weakness broadly across the market. But we can see it's coming back down to this little support area here, and this is why I said, look, at the time, look, I wouldn't mind having a little stab around here. I'm not going to be first into this trade because it's coming down. I think DXY is probably due for some more sustained buying. So I might sort of I've pulled my orders as of now in this little buy zone, and maybe sort of look a little bit lower just to be a bit more on the safe side. Maybe actually what we'll do is probably drag down here, given the state of the market at the moment. There seems to be a very big theme in the fact of, and you saw it with gold a second ago, just take out the highs or the lows and then completely reverse. We saw this here as well from 33 to 27 and then excuse me, all the way to the top. So if we look back at these previous highs over here, I think this would be an area because it would take out this whole move just down to the lows, just take out any sort of technical stops at this point here, and then sort of move back up through there. I do still have some shorts on Aussie, so I think I'll sort of like, this is where I'd be targeting, maybe a little bit higher just to be sort of on the safe side of it all. But I reckon around the sort of maybe mid-20s, we could start to see some reaction. I think DXY has probably got a bit of a sort of extended move coming, which I'll get to in a moment. So I'm not in a rush to buy Aussie up here. But keep in mind, we do have CPI tomorrow, and also with CPI tomorrow, it's expected to be a tick up. So obviously a tick up is going to be a little bit more on the sort of the bullish side for Aussie, should that happen. I mean, as I said the other day, these are your three things that will get the Aussie moving. Whoops. This one being China, other one being US, and then obviously Aussie data. So Aussie, so let's put this there. So this would be CPI positive, like as in it's gone up, well that's bullish for us. If we still get DXY on a bit of a rampage, that means you got two against them there. And China, as I'll get to in a moment as well. Look at China, I put a little bit sideways. I would say something like this, which looks like a great mix of stuff here, which means uncertainty, in my opinion. And I would say almost the fact that sort of if China's uncertain, more likely it's going to be going down. So I'm not going to be in a super rush for this move. I do think, we could see these mid-20s here, which I'll probably look to sort of take some profit on the shorts, or take some more profit on the shorts. Of course, I'm not a big long-term holder, but I do think that, we probably got a little bit lower before we see some rallying just here. Look, top side in that, let's update this a little bit and drag this over here. I would say, look, honestly, I'd sort of let's pull this out because that doesn't seem to have held much at all there. Not a big fan of this bottom side here. I'll leave it in just for the moment. There we go. We could say if we hold this sort of 40 area, then we could see a little bit of a bounce here. But let's see. I mean, slight negative divergence through this area here, but again, the fact it's rolled over. Yeah, I think I'll still just maintain that. Err on the side of caution with this one here. as I said, I do think we've got some sustained US dollar buying coming. And silver, slowly breaking down. So it came right into our little buy zone here. I'm short on this, and I sort of ran it right down here. So where did I close those silvers out last night? 54. Is that right? So check. Got a few accounts here. No, 20, 32.11. So 32.11, just into this zone down here. So look, it was a great trade actually. The silver, it really was coming down quite hard through this period here. Everything equity sold off. This is when gold did its little flip around and that as well. And I've been saying that I sort of think that silver's a little bit wish-washy with it all. So it did come into the buy zone perfectly, and that's a decent little bounce. That's 30-point bounce. I didn't take the buy. I'll leave this just here anyway, just for the fact of it. But I would say that this has probably got a little bit more downside to come. It seems quite steep here. If this comes down now, like as in if we see a sharp move down in the next couple of hours, I think this could pierce this level quite easily. And as I said, 31.70 is kind of where I'm targeting for silver, particularly if we start to see gold roll over a little bit as well. I think that could sort of bleed through to the silver market. It just looks a little bit like if you stand back and sort of go, okay, let's have a look at this. Let's put it on the 4 hours so we see it a little bit more. It just looks a little bit, roll over kind of sort of status. Doesn't mean it's out. If we drag this kind of through here, so it's like, break. Yeah, it's a bit wish-washy with it all and that. But as I said, look, I do think that potentially if we sort of come down here, if you see this on the 4 hour here with the wick as well, if you eat that wick up and continue going, yeah, I think 31.70 is a decent little level down over here where we could see this is more where I'm sort of picking for a buy zone and that. All right. DXY, all important one. So let's have a look at where we're going here. So chart's getting a little bit scrappy. That's all right. Just so we can tell the story. 38% continue down. Pushed up into this little zone that we had previously sort of marked. I mean, quite heavily used by the market on the way up over here. I can't even remember when I put these ones in, but I was obviously trying to heavily emphasize a point here. But resistance, support. And at the moment, resistance. So look, I do think that we have a little bit of a push up coming. I don't think it's going to be a resurgence of like, hey, US dollar back up to the highs. Of course, I am playing the idea of this potential head and shoulders, which I've been sort of tracking for quite a while. But what I'm sort of feeling with this is that you've got gold and silver and equities all sort of selling off. And they were quite some substantial. Look, I mean, they're not fully selling off. Obviously, gold, as I said, it's at the all-time highs. But you're seeing those sort of start to sell off. So should that be a distribution sort of episode or pattern that we're seeing at the moment, we could be seeing that be the early signs of a sell-off. That's my point there. So if that sells off, you've got a lot of people that are in a lot of profit that just, the people, not people like myself that sort of go in and out. We're talking people that buy here and then, they wait till these levels break and then they sell kind of thing. And this is what we saw with US dollar. We saw the flows start to come out. And this is what I was saying. This is very similar in the fact because I was saying this all the way through, comes down, out of nowhere, screeching high, there's a head, and people sold into it. That's a telltale sign. Because, these were sort of like, those are stupid headlines or whatever, but all these little big rally up points here were excuses for when the market could go, oh, you know what, if we want to carry this up, we can carry it back up. But they didn't. They were going, oh, excellent. I'm selling it here. Here's a Hail Mary. I'll sell it here. Bang, bang, bang. Come all down, down, down. So now, US dollar takes a bit of a knockdown. I mean, look, in the end of the day, it's only just around the 38% retracement. So it's still quite a bullish thing. So it could actually still be up, down, bull into that next leg. But I think unless anything sort of fundamentally changes, I don't see it coming up over here. Economic data is a little bit weak. So it does sort of lean more into this sort of more weak economic data needs some cutting. Cutting will lead to a weaker dollar, weaker currency, whatever, eventually. Obviously, with some flare-ups along the way. But I feel if gold's selling off, equities, let's make some little arrows. If gold's, whoops, some technical issues there. If gold's selling off, equities are selling off. That flow has to come into something. And you think, okay, well, what's a bit discounted to the last couple of months? Because, this is when gold was starting its rally up over here, and we see it sell down, and it sell down, and gold has that big run. Now, gold's could be, and equities are sort of like starting to show a potential little bit of a sell down. The flows go back out of out of those markets, and they come back into US dollar because it's 38% cheaper than it was when gold started its rally. So this becomes a bit more of a sort of option. Okay, look, it may not be as in the option of, hey, look, it's going to 120 or whatever. I mean, it could, anything could happen. But as I said, that's why you need the fundamentals as well. You need something to shift fundamentally to give it reason to continue to go up over here. At the moment, it's value proposition. Is that the kind of thing? Look, it's just a cheap deal. That's the thing. It's sort of like, you know what I mean? It's like I'll take all the profits that I've got from my gold. I need to park it somewhere. Let's put it into the US dollar because it's a little bit cheaper. And let's take a little bit of profit on that. We'll let gold cool off for a little bit. And US dollar sees some sort of buying through this period here while gold sort of comes back off. And then gold, because gold's going to 3,100, some people have been calling 3,200, whatever. Gold then sort of like has time to cool off. They take their little profit from this leg through here with US dollar, and then they pump it back into gold from 28.50. I mean, why buy gold at 29.50 when you can get it a couple of weeks later at 28.50? This is all hypothetical, but this is how I'm sort of seeing the market. And then sort of like, you start to see this leg come down over here again and gold go on its next leg. It's had time to sort of wipe out some longs. It's had time to sort of cool off and make it a little bit cooler and more of a more attractive market to trade and an attractive price, basically. So I think that we could see some sort of midterm buying in US dollar, just as the flows come out of the US, come out of equities, which are coming off. Which, if you have a look at S&P, this is kind of sort of getting some pretty heavy little sell downs. Look, it's still very much elevated up near its highs in this kind of stuff here, but what if they want to sort of wipe out a few of these levels and then sort of come down to say 5,800? There's a reasonable argument for that kind of thing. There's a lot of people in a lot of profit. It hasn't really gone anywhere last couple of months. It's been sort of burning a lot of people. Why not sort of come down here, stop out all the levels down here, and then reverse back up? So maybe 5,800. But again, look, if this starts to move down, same with, say, gold coming down, these kind of things, that the flow, the capital has to go somewhere. It doesn't just evaporate into the midst of stuff. It'll go into another market. Well, why not buy US dollar? Because realistically, US dollar is still on a high time frame, putting in a higher low here. So this is still a bullish, very bullish move. You know what I mean? As it is right now. So the flows could go out of equities, the flows could go out of metals, go into US dollar, give us a bit of a push on the US dollar. Unless something shifts fundamentally, they remember, hold on, wait, cuts are still coming. I don't want to be holding this thing like while they have the cuts. They start to talk about the cut cycle again. And remember what happens when you talk about the cut cycle. This is what happens. This is what happens when you cut, this little red circle down here. This is what happens when you talk about cuts. What happens if they get up here and then they start having the conversation about, oh, we need to cut again. That's what will give this leg down here. So that's my plan going forward anyway. Bigger picture, of course. Zoom right in and we'll see where we're at. So this is a little area that we're seeing some significance. I have a feeling that this could sort of have a little bit of issue going through here. Look, we haven't actually technically hit this area where I call the sort of buy zone. which on a daily, let's see if I've just misplaced it. No, look, I meant, look, there's some resistance down here. We've had sort of strong rejection over here, but I could see this dribbling down, hit this zone before it does see this move up over here. I don't know if this is enough to sort of say, hey, that's it, we're out. I could see this move down and then maybe push back up. We'll just have to wait and see how the markets react as they sort of open, at least today as well. I think sort of, yeah, sort of, but yeah, let's put on lower time frame so we can work out some levels. I think a little move above here, undo this body fill. I think we could see some sort of rejection, a little bit of a move up to say 106.90, and then a faster move down here to sort of give us a move into the lows into this little buy zone over here, price target, and then I think once we said definitely, look, we could just get a move, and this could be it, 38%, which is this white line here, and it moves up. Could see a little inverted head and shoulders, which should give it again another little push down, or it could come down over here, or it could just drag up over here. I know that's a little bit just covering all bases, but this could be the low. I mean, we're within, 20 points or something, 20 cents of that target. So close enough is good enough sometimes with all these things, you got to remember. So it could just run from here. This could be the bottom, or we could see a little fast move down and then it run up. I'd be more in the camp of a little fast move down, move back up, only just for the fact that that's how market likes to sort of snap people out. But that is kind of what this move yesterday was. We had that move on Friday, and I sort of said, look, it takes more than one positive day to sort of turn this thing around. This is a bang, bang, high heel move. If this moves up now and goes past, say, 106, look, I'm going to move this up a little bit here. Past there, I would say that's it. We're going to call this recovery. So a little bit of work for it to do. RSI is set to, as you can see, down to this area. This is where we were at this point over here. Down, oversold, coming back up, and this is following the path that we mapped out a week or so ago. All right, and we got copper. Copper moving down towards that buy zone. As I said, it felt wish-washy around here. This little rejection up over here, very much pushing down here. Again, look, I think the buy zone, I'm going to thin it out a little bit, but really around this sort of 61%, I think would give us a nice little move here. So maybe a little sort of bit more downside here. I'm not looking to short this. It would have been nice to have shorted it up around these areas over here, looking to sort of get onto it. But I think it's sort of nice little rejection, maybe a little overshoot down to say 446 or something, and then a bit of a move back up out of that could be a nice little entry zone to sort of start to sort of tackle back up over here. Because remember, it wasn't massive; it was a 15% move just on this one leg. And I'm not really a massive Elliott wave person, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4. You should still have another leg up over here to come back up over here. So maybe a little bit more downside. And then we can start to see copper coming back up a bit as well. And finally, a bit of China. So finally down into price target. It got very close here a couple of times. Didn't quite get into there, but this is the area that we marked out. And this is what I say. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with these things. You just need to sort of look at sort of where has price action been previously? Where could we expect to see it again? And this is obviously an area that we've had marked out for quite some time. Got very close to it, flew right back up. Flew up again, bang, 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 dribbling down, dribbling down, dribbling down. The reaction of this level here is quite strong, as you can see. Touched into it and bang, people took their profits. That's short covering, the fast rejection there, a bit of longs, okay, fine, whatever. Let's go. So what are we going to do from here? As I said over the weekend, I think that this could potentially turn into a bit of a range area. Doesn't necessarily mean it could be up here. It could be something like this. So let me just do 2 of these then. They're the 2 areas that I'm kind of looking at. Potentially a smaller range. Should it overshoot here, I think this will cap it at the top side over here. But again, US dollar buying for a little period. This could see it just grind up through to the top side of this potential range. So there's a lot of area in which it we could see this just really dribble before it breaks this area. But that's the big move I'm looking for. Down through here, so let's move across a little bit. Price target, obviously on a sliding scale as it sort of comes up the line there. And if you zoom this out, this is why. Because this is a massive trend. And quite frankly, it's a massive triangle. I don't think it's necessarily going to break and be coming down over here. Who knows? But I think sort of, if this were to be the play, a massive ascending triangle, well, that's a big move out to the top side there, up over 8, which is kind of scary if that were to come. But it's still got all this area to fill. And this is taking us through to July next year to get to the pinnacle of this. So generally with these things, they'll fill it out a little bit better. Even if they are going to break early, they're probably not going to break this far through it. I would say you'd see a little bit more of a filling out of this before you see a break one way or the other. That's obviously a bigger picture there. Let's jump on to something smaller, usable, and as you can see, it's just into a little grind through here. So, but I would say US dollar buying across the board. Could see this thing just grind up here a little bit as well. And as I said, they're the two top side areas where I'd be interested. If you get above here, then you're looking at a bigger sort of range through here, but it puts this level back here into sort of contention and sort of thought. All right, let's flip across quickly here. We've got a bit of news coming out. Where we at? So yeah, almost end of the month as well. So you've got to keep in mind some of these sort of flows. But we are looking at. All right. So sorry, 1 second. All right. So we've got data for today's looking pretty light again. Asia typical sort of light stuff. So actually nothing. 1050s. We got. I'm not even sure what this is, to be honest. So the British Corporation. Interesting. So a couple of actual quick notes that I should mention as well. We've got expiration. We've got the deadline basically, sort of coming up for that 1 month extension for Canada and Mexico. That's something to keep in mind for US dollar. And so obviously Canada and Mexico, if you peso or whatever it is, if you trade these things, that could see some US dollar buying as we sort of come towards that. Particularly if those tariffs do go into effect, because remember, those tariffs were hectic movers a couple of weeks ago, and then all of a sudden, everything's delayed, everything's put off and that, but they haven't gone away. They've just been sort of extended for the 1 month. So that does create a situation where people could underestimate what's actually going to happen and the impact of that. Should those things go into effect, remember what happened with the US dollar last time, we got some big spikes for that kind of stuff. Gold typically did like those as well. So again, another thing to consider with trading gold at the moment. Also yen, that's what I was going to say. Yen is creepily in the background, moving up with some strength. So that's another one to sort of watch there. Look, pretty quiet through Europe, pretty quiet through US. Not really a great deal. So consumer confidence, 2 a.m. Russian manufacturing, a little bit on the weaker side, but looking to slightly improve. CPI tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier, a slight little tick up, 1.1%. This is something to be watching, certainly if you're trading Aussie and that. I think if this does come in hot, we could see a little bit of recovery, as I said, in the Aussie. I wouldn't mind having a little bit of sort of long exposure for that potential move there. Even if it's just a short-term trade, because as I said, look, when you weigh up US dollar moves and also Aussie, like a small little tick up is not going to be enough to sort of save Aussie from US dollar buying across the market. And that's about it. Again, sort of, it's pretty quiet through the rest of the week and that. We do have GDP, through the rest of that session. GDP on Friday morning, and then core PCE. This will be a big one to sort of finish off the week. Beautiful time, 12:30 on a Friday night. All right, that's it from me.